Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Wrestling Challenge review series for the December 6th, 1986 edition. Peacock put up about 17 episodes, many of them already covered here, but the ones that aren't, we're going to upload within the next couple of days. 1986, not a time that I was a fan, but certainly something that's worthwhile here. They run through the opening matches. Obviously, Gorilla and Bobby Heenan are your um, ultimate individuals of announcership here. Um, Andre the Giant is in, I believe they said London, and he is a guy who has been reinstated. Andre promises that the fans will be happy with what he was doing with his time off, but also with his return. They open with a match. And to be fair, this is obviously clipped in some form because the runtime is only about 39 minutes. Usually, runtime on 1 hour shows between 44 and 47 minutes. So, a couple of things probably clipped out due to copyright and or local promo type stuff. Anyway, a six-man tag as Tito Santana alongside opponents of a enhancement talent in nature. Tito Santana, Hillbilly Jim, and Pedro Morales are your six-man tag team here. Not exactly quite understanding why. Obviously, Santana comes in with Iron Mike Sharp, gets a couple of shots there. Pedro Morales, of course, former WWF champion, so him being in this position is kind of surprising. Mike Sharp gets a few shots from Santana. Suplex takeover by Morales. Morales just about finished 86-87. He's finished with the sport. Hillbilly Jim still coming into the promotion within the last year. I think he enters in 1986, if I'm correct here. Barry O, of course, Barry Orton, who has recently passed away during the year 2021, the uncle of Randy Orton. Tito Santana comes back in, fires in the enhancement talent, big back body drop. Of course, Santana, by this point, a former Intercontinental Champion, losing the belt to Randy Savage in February of 86. Hillbilly Jim comes in and is able to secure a bear hug on his adversary. Wrestling rebuttal with Bobby Heenan and the King Harley Race. Race annoyed that he is not given the opportunity to be the cover feature on the WWF magazine, and obviously that a pretty big deal to him. Honky Tonk Man is upset that the fans did not vote him in a popular way, promises to have an announcement next week. The announcement ends up being the partnership and managerial services procured of one Jimmy the Mouth of the South Heart, which obviously is good for the Honky Tonk Man's career, and the heel turn that they'd begun a couple of months earlier is in full swing. We then go to an enhancement match with Kamala. Kamala, of course, being pushed pretty heavily, and through the end of 86 and the first quarter of 87, has many matches with Hulk Hogan as a main challenger. Mick Foley is the individual providing the enhancement talent services as Jack Foley. Super simple match, nothing to write home about, as Foley gets splashed a couple of times, including from the top rope, and taken out on a stretcher from this particular arena. I think a total of 3 splashes, 2 on the ground and 1 from the top rope. Foley taken out on a stretcher, but interesting to see Mick Foley in 1986 as an enhancement talent. Of course, the other thing that I think has been covered on this channel is the match he talks about in his book, being the guy who gets completely obliterated by the British Bulldogs. Bobby Heenan does an inset promo with Hercules Hernandez wearing a leather-studded wristband. Heenan talks about that being a good investment for him. Also talks about Hercules being a guy that doesn't need to get stopped. We even go back and Foley still being loaded onto the gurney and carried out several moments later after the interview. Bonnie Steamboat talks about the injury caused to Ricky, her husband Ricky, and father of her son Ricky Jr. at the hands of Randy Savage, with the crushing of the bell a couple of weeks before on, I believe, Superstars of Wrestling at the time. And she talks about the possibility that he being Steamboat, may never wrestle again. Obviously, that is the build to one of, if not the biggest undercard match in WrestleMania history, Savage Steamboat, WrestleMania 3, and it's brilliantly done. Her involvement with television, though, and I don't think a lot of people would support. The team of Orton and Morocco, Bob Orton Jr. and Don Morocco here, suplexes by Morocco, and Orton manages to go around. There is a managerial partnership between Jimmy Hart, who manages Bob Orton Jr., and Mr. Fuji, who manages Don Morocco at the time. Their team runs through WrestleMania 3, so it's not a fly-by-night team. Interesting to see two managers supporting two separate talents within the same team. I don't know that happens very often in the WWF or any other promotion. I know it happens a couple of times, most notably Fuji and Hart align again in 1988 against the Hart Foundation with Demolition, but that's more to push the angle between the two. Pile driver by Morocco, inverted tombstone style, and a victory there. Ken Resnick is doing a promo. Billy Jack Haynes is the subject of the promo. Billy Jack Haynes talks about having gone at it with Randy Savage for the Intercontinental title not once but twice in recent times. Talks about Resnick being a good individual, or I think it's Jack Reynolds actually, being a good individual who, can take him to the limit. Billy Jack Haynes really comes forward as earnest and kind of a big deal here. Then we go back to the arena, and Blackjack Mulligan in a vignette on an old school Southern wagon style situation is here. That's there, and he promises to bring chaos and order at the same time to the World Wrestling Federation. We see the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart, and manager Jimmy Hart in line here. Of course, they are a couple of weeks away, maybe about a month away, 4 to 6 weeks anyway, from winning the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Championships from the British Bulldogs. Don't know if the injury to Dynamite Kid had happened at this time. I think it was in December of 86 that's there. Bob Boyer and another individual by the name of Salvatore Bellomo, who had been a pretty impactful guy throughout the years here, had go through the process. Jim Neidhart obviously using the power against the enhancement talents. Match goes about 3 minutes. Heart attack finish is the way to go there. Then we see Coco Beware in an enhancement talent match against Rick Renslaw. Coco with some arm drags, drop downs, drop kicks, hip tosses, and really basic stuff. Nothing to write home about, but Coco Ware at the time, a super, I guess you'd say, influential guy, hits the Gourd Buster, which is a Brain Buster modified style, to get the victory here. Dangerous Danny Davis defends the fact that he believes what happened in the Randy Savage winning the Intercontinental Championship all the way back in February, and the attack on Ricky Steamboat was not his fault nor his problem. The promo for the heel turn, heel referee concept completed here. Then we move to the main event of the program. Natural Butch Reed and Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov facing off against the British Bulldogs and Billy Jack Haynes. Billy Jack Haynes really pushed pretty heavily here. Sheik and Volkov, one of the bigger teams, both in stature as well as influence in 1986. The Bulldogs, of course, probably converting a lot of international stars and people that love tag team wrestling who didn't grow up in the Crockett area. The Bulldogs probably a main reason for that. Billy Jack Haynes is a organ transplant, slick on the outside, managing his three heels, and the tie up with the Iron Sheik and Davy Boy Smith pretty early. Dynamite Kid, obviously the quicker of the two of that particular team. Bulldog gets the speed advantage, not to be outdone, and bit of brawling, cut off on the Dynamite Kid in the corner area there. Tag off to Billy Jack Haynes. Billy Jack also gets taken down in ways he's not happy with. Butch Reed comes in and has a couple of minutes of dominance over Billy Jack Haynes. Doesn't last very long, though, as Haynes outquicks and outpowers for a minute Butch Reed. Reed, I did not know, was as major a component in 1986, but he is. Full Nelson press and the full Nelson on by Billy Jack Haynes on Butch Reed leads to Reed being able to take his man over into the corner, where Slick uses an illegal blow or two to get an advantage there. The Slickster managing his team and basically talks about how he doesn't really cheat. It's not that big a deal. Pretty aggressively doing some heavy heel work there. And we go into the kind of, I guess you'd say, the end of that. Sheik and Volkov being portrayed as going to get the tag team championships back. The challenge with the British Bulldogs remain, and that is a pretty big deal here. In any event, that will close us for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this. This is over 1,300 more if you did, and keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment.